full crew today. We
Full
got,
crew.
I'm your host, Justin Mulvaney, and with me, my co-hosts. Introduce yourselves, fellas.
I'm Brooks, co-host.
I'm Tanner, kind of co-host. I was on a brief hiatus for a few weeks.
He
We
didn't
missed
like
you,
us for
Tanner.
a few days or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been hectic.
Everybody, welcome Tanner back in the comment section. If you haven't commented ever before, now's your time.
Now's
Welcome
your
Tanner
time.
back.
Say something mean. It won't hurt my feelings in front of
So,
her at all.
today will be it won't be a full, like a normal hunt highlight episode. We'll do a little bit of a hunt highlight, but there's really not much to highlight. And then we'll talk a little bit about a couple certain topics. So, um, I guess we'll do the hunt highlight first, and we'll get into things that we want to talk about hunting the rut and hunting post-rut and our plans for those. So, Tanner, let's hear your hunt. You haven't been able to hunt in a while. You finally got out in the field.
Yeah. Did I get out last weekend? I might have. Did I get out on Sunday or was it 2 weeks ago?
You're the one who wanted, not us.
Yeah, but you know what, Brooks? I don't want to hear it. I think. Oh, well, hell, it don't matter. Last time I hunted, it rained. It sucked.
Yeah, we had a hunt highlight episode of you telling that story.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's been that long. Yeah. Got out yesterday, Sunday. Today's the 25th. Of November. Yesterday, Justin and I walked in where he has been seeing some bucks. I actually had never hunted this area. When you and I were looking for that buck, the first time I'd ever been up that way. So it was a pretty interesting little landscape. Let's see.
Mhm.
I had a pin. You had sent me this area. I had a pin of kind of where I wanted to hunt it or where I wanted to hunt. And oddly enough, it happened to be my pin was like right where they've been hanging out at from what we gathered yesterday.
Mhm.
We got in at like noon, got fully set up at like noon. So we sat till a little before 3. We didn't see a lick for a few hours. Say what you want about it. I mean, we were just kind of like at the point where if nothing was really moving, then might as well get up and move ourselves or see what the area is like because neither one of us had really explored over there. And so we walked around for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just kind of bebopping around. We saw a ton of sign. I think at some point in time, whether it's current or very recently, there is a very large deer that's hanging out back there somewhere. Based on all the rubs that we saw, the scrapes that we saw, there's Big Daddy back there somewhere lurking around. We were walking, we saw a few other hunters yesterday. I don't think any of them actually saw us, which is good. We did end up busting up a couple of deer way back right next to these guys, and I don't know if they saw them or didn't see them or what, but these deer had to have ran 40 yards from them, if that. Um, we ended up stumbling around. Um, we came up on, a, it was probably 10 or 12 beds, fresh beds. I mean, the ground was like super wet and cool where they were laying, fresh tracks. We ended up following this trail down the hill and came up on two really fresh scrapes, two really big scrapes. And lo and behold, it was the trail that Justin and I were set up on yesterday. We didn't really mean to, and we were kind of moseying our way back, but we ended up walking this trail. This is probably where the majority of the deer that Justin has seen up there were coming from. We got down, I don't know, we were probably 20 yards out of the trees and not 100 yards ahead of us. There were 4 or 5 does on this trail. Well, whether we spooked them or the one of the landowners up the way did, but holy shit. It was like it's like peak hours of the evening. Sun's going down. It's the last hour of the day, and this guy, I swear to God, couldn't have shot less than 200 rounds. It was absurd. From the time that we were like, I don't know, I couldn't tell you which house it was or which property it was, like pinpoint it, but somebody back there was having fun with a grandkid or something. Had to have been 150 to 200 rounds shot in within an hour. It was pretty wild. It was definitely a pistol. I say that. I think the first few were bigger guns. The last 100 rounds were pistol rounds, but yeah, I don't. There weren't many deer around after that.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, but it is what it is. What you get hunting near somebody else's property and whatever. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
You never know what you're going to get on public land, and especially being that close to private. And most of those lots they're like long and narrow lots. So a lot of them can hunt probably on their own land. And so I'm sure quite a few of them do. And if not, they shoot. Obviously, this guy does. So yeah, you just never know what you're going to get with private land being so close. I mean, you never know what you're going to get on public land. People do all sorts of weird stuff. You don't know really what to expect other hunters to be doing, but then, when you get up on somebody's private land or close to it, you don't know what they may have been having a target day and just had at it. So
Yeah, it was pretty wackadoodle. I think one of the weirder things to me yesterday, and it's just like, I mean, I understand it, but at the same time, it's just like kind of, well, I'm not going to say anything else. But one of the property lines, I mean, they had like four yellow signs that say posted no trespassing, like right on the property line. And I swear to God, 5 feet off the property line, he has a ground blind sitting there where like he can shoot on his ground and on public ground. Which it is, it's his property. I understand it, but it's just, I don't know.
yeah,
What do you gonna do?
I'd probably
that's
do the
the
same.
that's the advantage that guy has. Unfortunately, I guess unfortunately for us, fortunately for him, his whatever acre lot just turned into his acre or his lot plus the public land lot, and it's all huntable land for him. So
It's like if you buy land out here in the mountains and you're backed up to BLM or national forest.
yeah, you just doubled your lot size basically.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I didn't ever see them. I might have caught a glimpse of a tail of one of the does, but I wasn't really sure. But Tanner was in front of me, and I was more investigating the sign, and I knew a little bit of where we had seen those scrapes. Caitlin and I, when we went up there, the first time she went out with me, just kind of explore hunting, we went up in there, and those scrapes weren't there. I feel like I probably would have noticed those, but those scrapes weren't there before, and so it was good to see those. But like Tanner was saying, like I feel like that's where we had come from. We basically made this like really big loop, and so like from where we started, we went like way around this hill, came back on it a different way than we went out from where we came from. And when the way we came back into where we were sitting, that I guess more or less trail that we were on is probably, like he was saying, the most busy trail that they use. They probably do come a little bit from the other side. I mean, we saw a few rubs on the other side of this hill, but it didn't look to be like as busy as this one. But then you could just tell that where I've been setting up, that's basically like a transition area from bedding area to bedding area and food to bed, things like that. Because basically, where I've been setting up, tons of oak trees by me, and then like there's like a cedar grove, and then another group of oak trees. So it's like bedding area, food, and then you basically run into the parking lot after that. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
It was intriguing to be able to see that, and we if we would have maybe had more patience and just sat there the whole time, maybe those deer would have walked by us and we had a chance. But, at a certain point when you're in a new spot and it's hunting season, you got to give a little to get a little. And so I feel like we gained knowledge and information about that part of public that we can use to our advantage. If it's not this year, then next year.
yeah.
So,
Which
Hmm.
I mean, and especially like this coming weekend, I mean, I had told you yesterday, like I found a tree that I would much rather have been in anyway when we were walking out down. And
Hmm.
I mean, now I have more incentive to like just stay put and be more vigilant to where, because like I was set up looking at where I thought these deer were going to come, which is where we came from. But that being said, like being a transition point for these deer, when they come out of these like super thick cedar groves, like they can see everything, but you can't see them because like they're looking out and they're very camouflaged in this stuff. So like they're looking for all kinds of movement before they peek their head. And I've like even hunting fields last year, like you notice, like you can watch these deer and they'll stand there for minutes and like tens of minutes waiting for anything before they show themselves, especially later in the season.
Yeah, and the older deer, like they're so educated.
Yeah, they're just like they're gonna wait because they know that most likely something's gonna make a mistake, I guess you could say, and they're just gonna say map simulator. So yeah, that was kind of what I gained from yesterday, and also like it's refreshing. I mean, we already knew that there were deer in the area, but they're still around in there, running
Yeah,
around,
they
and
haven't busted out of there completely.
yeah, and I mean where we walked in their beds, it was like we were both hunched over, so I mean it is thick in there. It's real thick, but they can also when you're ground level and like mid thigh on both of us, it's like they can see forever. So like they'll see anything and anybody coming before like you even realize what's going on. So they have quite the advantage. We actually stumbled on two beds yesterday. One of them
Hmm.
was in a super open area that they just had the advantage of a hillside behind them, and then the other one was in a cedar grove.
It was like thick brush on a hill. It was like there weren't any trees around it, but it was like really thick brush, and you could see where they like tucked themselves up into like a couple of bushes or whatever in
Yeah,
that. So
and we walked up on it, and I told, I mean, we don't ever walk around with arrows knocked, but we were about to crest this hill, and I told Justin, I said, I'm just going to knock an arrow and go over as quiet as we can, see what happens. And we were probably 5 feet from the top of this hill, and we heard them take off. So they were waiting on
yep,
us.
Yeah.
yep. So I mean, it was like I said, it was good to have get some information out of it. Bummer we didn't get a close encounter, but I think it would be worth it in the end to know, to be able to set up our next hunt or set up a hunt next year or whatever, like pre-rut, things like that. Try to establish some of those areas earlier in the year,
Hmm.
just because like the foliage is different, the leaf cover and all that. Some of those spots could be way more huntable than we think when we got a bunch of leaves on the trees. And
I think for sure, like looking around yesterday, and I just happened to pick like an okay tree, but somewhat like being in there for the first time and actually seeing it and looking around, like that is the most open area I think I've been in since like hunting out here.
yep, I mean, you get like your 30-yard shot. Like I had that chance at 30 yards, or a couple different chances at 30 yards, but you still have like you have small lanes, small windows that are your shooting lanes, as opposed to like a lot of the other spots we've been hunting. It's like you have one lane and it's completely clear for like 20 yards, and then
That's it.
it's like like a 45-degree window, but that's it. And then everything else is basically closed off. This one, it's like you have out to like 30, 35 yards of like this window, that window. Like you got a bunch of different angles. So it's like, well, there's a chance there. Like if I don't have clearance at 20 where it's close, but like I can go over this tree and I have clearance at 30 out there. So yeah, like Tanner's saying, it's a lot more open. So you got to play the wind and thermals and stuff like that a little bit different on that spot, just because you have a couple different hills and thermal hubs and cut-ins and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be our next learning curve, is how to play the wind when you're up on those hills like that. But
I mean, it worked. Yesterday was perfect from what I was gathering because our scent was blowing directly to the water.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
like for me, there was literally nothing could get behind me. I mean, there was between the shoreline and myself was like maybe 20 yards.
Yeah, which is a good setup, and as long as you have like a good lane to where that, which I think you probably did have a good lane to where
Yeah.
those deer would come out of
I
that
had
little trail there.
I had like eight lanes total yesterday, or like eight shooting opportunities between 20, like most of them were 25 to 35 yards, and then I think the longest one was like 48. So
Yeah. So it was good. I got to go Friday after work, Saturday and Sunday, both after work. I worked the weekend, so Friday I didn't see anything. Saturday I went to one spot and there were where 9 cars parked where I have been parking at this spot that Tanner and I went to, and it was like so full that just the way that you have to park on this lot, it's not really a lot, it's just like a road, and you park basically
mhm.
on this road and it dead ends. So you have to park it to where one person gets the one side and then everybody else has to take the other, and you have to leave enough space to be able to like parallel park, get out or whatever. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like the way that they had it parked it, these 9 vehicles took up every inch of space. And like if you park on the other side of this sign, you can get towed away. And I'm sure those landowners right there probably are not afraid to call to get you towed. So I wasn't going to risk it. So I went back to our kind of original spot in that area, that parking lot. There were 2 vehicles there, and I ended up hunting on Saturday. What? Right, that was Saturday? Yeah. I hunted Saturday with
Right.
Bryant. I was walking in and I saw his truck, and I texted Tanner. I was like, "Hey, do you mind texting him, asking where he's at? Because if he's set up, I don't want to go into his spot or be too close or whatever." And before Tanner could get a hold of him, he was walking out as I was walking in. And he's like, "Oh, the spot I was going to, somebody else was set up in the same tree that I was going to set up in, so I don't know what to do. So, like, can I come film you?" I was like, "Yeah, you can come film, I guess." So he came, and it caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, I mean, I've always wanted to like have a couple guys in the tree and film a
Whoa.
hunt, whatever. And couple guys in the tree. Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, we got up in the tree and we saw a ton of squirrels. That was it.
Yeah, that's how Saturday or Sunday yesterday, I was in the tree for 30 minutes, maybe. And there was a squirrel on the tree. Yeah, I swear to God, it was 3 feet away from me. And it went halfway up the tree and was like looking at me. It ran down the tree and ran as fast as it could, like through the leaves on the ground, just like complete zoomies. I could not believe it.
So Bryant and I didn't see anything Saturday. Friday, I didn't see anything. I got in there kind of too late. Well, I got in there and there were guys, I think they might have been squirrel hunters or something, because they were like going through and there were kids hooting and hollering. And I was like, they're walking right to where I wanted to set up. I was like, I mean, it's still kind of early, but if they're going to be walking around and busting things up, I probably not going to have much of a chance. So I went to a different spot that I've never been to in that same area, and that one sucked. So I was like, well, kind of a bummer of a weekend for hunting, but we learned
Yeah,
some stuff, learned where to go, where not to go, or where we could go rather. But so
yeah, yeah. It's kind of stanky. Also, it's very interesting, and we've said this before that we primarily hunt in shot, shotgun, muzzleloader, archery only. And Saturday morning was opening day of rifle, and the parking lot's packed. So maybe it's coincidence or not, but I don't think so.
well, we ran into the one guy and he had his shotgun. He said it was a shotgun. I don't know. Tanner got a closer look at it, and
It for sure was. It was. I think I don't know if I were to guess, it was a 20 gauge, but it was 100% a shotgun. Like unless this guy is shooting a literal 50 cal.
yeah, big barrel.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a rifle. It looks just like mine. Like it literally was. It is like almost the same exact model. It just shoots 12
Well,
gauge or 20 gauge.
yeah, it was a bolt action and um scoped up and everything. So he had it
Yeah.
souped up. I mean, I didn't want to stop him and be like, "Oh, let me look at your gun," because I've never seen one.
Well, I
I was
wasn't
getting
like
dressed and ready to go, but
I mean, he's parked right next to me, and I just happened to look at it because I was also looking at him like, "What are you doing with that here?" But also, like when he said it in his passenger seat, and I just noticed how big the muzzle was on it, and I said, "Is that a shotgun?" He said, "Oh man, Savage 220 or whatever the fuck he said." I'm like, "Oh, interesting."
Yeah, I've never seen a deer hunting shotgun. I know they
No, I
exist,
mean,
but
right. Well, he's like, "Yeah, I can get like 300 yards with this baby." I was like, "Wait, you fucking pointed at the sun or what?" I had never heard of a shotgun going that far.
yeah,
But
that's a whole part of the hunting world that I'm not familiar with is
it's really
deer
big up
hunting with a
north.
shotgun.
I
Yeah.
know like a lot of Michiganders and I don't know, maybe people in like Indiana, Ohio hunt with shotguns a lot. Wisconsin probably. I know Michigan for sure. I had a friend that grew up in Michigan and they hunted a lot with shotguns.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it was strange.
So I guess that kind of covers our hunt highlight. We'll kind of extend this episode and we'll talk a little bit more in depth on some hunting tactics and strategies. Kind of what we're wanting to talk about is hunting during the rut, some strategies and tactics for that, and then looking at post-rut. Or everybody always says there's a primary rut and a secondary rut, and so I guess we'll call it hunting post-primary rut. I've never truly experienced a secondary rut. I would just say it's all an extension of the same rut, and it's it's the wildlife, it's nature. All does are going to come into their heat at a different point. It's
Yeah,
just, you get, I would call it like a month span of potential for does to come into
breeding,
estrus. And so, uh, you know, most of them come on earlier and some of them come on later. And so people say, oh, just wait for that secondary rut. It's going to get hot. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there might be a couple where you'll catch a buck chasing a hot doe, but there might only be a couple hot does as opposed to, that primary initial rut. A majority of your does are going to get hot during that time. But
Hmm.
so I guess the way we'll kind of classify it, not that we're the professionals and we have any say in how the world should label things, but we'll call it hunting during the rut and then hunting post primary rut. So, um, Tanner, some tactics you've used in the past during the rut.
well,
Anything
being
out
as
of the ordinary?
no, I mean, this year is very interesting. I was listening to the meat eater guys last week, and they did a they're doing like a live thing now, which I think is pretty cool. They're like having people FaceTime in. They had this guy on. His name is Matt Hansen. They call him the whitetail photographer ever. He You should follow him on Instagram. He does some pretty good work. But he was posting stories, and it's very funny because like he takes pictures of huge bucks, like really nice looking deer, and he has to see these deer in order to take a picture of them. And but like he's constantly out in the woods, and he posted something on his story that it was like every mature buck I have seen in the last 2 weeks has been between 11 and 3, 11 a.m., 3
Mm,
p.m.
midday.
Yeah. So it's like they're up and cruising, and that's when you're going to see them. So my biggest thing for this weekend, because I haven't been able to be out the last few weeks, was to just kind of be in like mid to late morning and then just see what the hell happens the rest of the day. So obviously it didn't work because the only deer we saw were when we were walking. But I don't know.
Right.
Hopefully the weather cooperates this later in the week and this weekend. So and be able to get out because if it's raining again, I'm not going. I've hunted more in the rain this year than I ever have in my entire life. I'm tired of it. So you can call me a sissy if you want. I'm sick of getting soaking wet every time I leave my house. So yeah, that's I don't know. I think most of the like everybody's different. Everybody has their own beliefs, and then I mean you have guys that have probably been hunting for twice as long as I've been alive, and they've seen the most action here and there, and like, oh, I'm not going to hunt until 2:34 in the afternoon until 4:40 in the afternoon, and I'm done. Like I don't want to hunt any earlier, because I don't see any deer before then or after that. The only big bucks I see are this time. But like
Mhm.
also, if you play your cards right, you pay attention to. I mean, there's so much technology that gives you all the information you need. Like if you pay attention to this stuff, and like the the spot that we were in, if it was a north wind, I wasn't going there. I was going somewhere else. Like I was not going to sit where I was sitting had the wind been the complete opposite. So like, my biggest thing is like deer are going to be moving. It's going to be fast, and it's going to be like very hit or miss, I'd say. So just like be in the woods as much as you can. I think I probably missed the heat of it last weekend, unfortunately, but I don't know. I think especially around here, and I was telling Bryant this. I think there are a lot of big deer around here, and it's just like you're gonna have to catch them slipping, or like you're gonna have to go to them because they're in a very comfortable spot, and they also know where they're safe, and they also know like we saw last year, like when they know when they're able to come out and they're not going to get shot at.
Right.
So either you go to them and you kind of have to make an ambush play on them or what have you. But like during the
Yeah.
rut, all I think most everything goes out the window when it comes to patterning deer because like anything can happen. It's nature. But like post rut, these bucks start to get locked down. I think I saw a guy yesterday say something that like think of if you were like a young man, it's like you got to go to them, and like if they've got a bunch of does around, they're not going to be up moving around, which is I think is true to a sense that like if he's got 10 does hanging out near him, like why would he get out of his bedding area? Like he's gonna have plenty to eat. Doesn't really matter what it is. If he's comfortable and like he's not threatened, he's not gonna leave.
Right.
Which I think
For
was
sure.
a big point for us yesterday to just see like what the hell we see, and it's they're going to be pressured no matter what. And then it's not, I don't think we're harming anything walking around just like most other guys are. And I mean, like you said yesterday, I don't think many people are as nuts as us to do what we do sometimes. I mean, like we probably walked 3 miles post where we were. So we had already walked in our spot and then walked another 3 miles and then out. So
Yeah. Brooks, you got any questions on our strategies so far?
I don't think so. I'm kind of just listening. It's interesting to hear what it's like to go through the rut for deer, what it's like going through the rut for elk. Kind of similar, not really, but
it
Yeah, because
is.
like with elk rutting, you get like they herd them together and they kind of have they find their cows and they kind of keep them in a group. Whereas whitetail, it's like the does kind of have their little doe group and they kind of do
mhm,
their thing, and bucks are going to bounce from doe group to doe group to find who's the hottest doe at the time and
mhm,
fend off some bucks and then get his in and then go to the next one.
mhm,
So, but then like Tanner was saying, they will eventually kind of like settle into a group where it's like, okay, there's not really any more hot does around.
right.
I'm gonna hang out. I'm here with these does now. So
Yeah, and then I mean, like late winter, they get into their bachelor groups and it all starts over again.
yeah.
All the
So
bachelors.
um I guess a couple other strategies, tactics I use more than Tanner uses. I'll use the grunt tube, and I will rattle. I was sitting there yesterday, and it was like, well, it was very quiet. The wind was blowing, but it was like pretty quiet, so the noise was going to travel a little bit. I didn't bring my antlers in, and it feels like every time I bring them in, I don't really want to use them. And every time I don't bring them in, it's like, man, I wish I had them. So I don't know if that's just a psychological thing, interior, like personal experience. But like yesterday, I felt like it would have been a great time with just how still everything was. There wasn't a whole lot of activity. If I would have had those antlers in there to rattle and try to get something to come in off of one of the hills,
Mhm,
you don't know. Like, but also on the flip side, we've heard anecdotes of people saying, rattling just doesn't work in this area. Every time I've heard somebody rattle, we haven't seen deer. It scares them off. Blah blah blah. So I don't know if that's necessarily true, or if
It's not.
I just don't think we catch it at the right time and in the right areas. So I think if we go ahead.
Well, you got to think that like during this time, like these bucks, their testosterone is through the roof and like they're amped up.
Yeah.
What they want to fight. They
Yeah.
like
It's
that's
in
what
their
they want to
nature.
do. And like I watched a couple videos of these two deer fighting, and then this third buck comes in, and he's just like he is just ramming one of these deer that are already fighting. He's just like, "Come on, motherfucker, let's go!" Like that's if it's too late, it's too late. But also, I did not hear you grunt, even though you told me you were going to grunt. I didn't hear it.
I did it like once every like
Brr.
15 minutes.
Yeah, I never heard
So
it, but I don't have
no, I
great
think we
hearing.
were just far enough away. Like you told me that you had grunted and I didn't hear it, and I think we were just far enough away where we weren't hearing grunts from each other. So yeah,
I only did
I
did
do
it
wish I would have
once.
had the antlers yesterday because of just the conditions. I mean, you never know with it being rut time of year. But no, I also think that there's a part of it of like geographic location. I don't know because like they're not going to fight just anywhere, from my
Mm.
understanding. Like they're not going to fight in a bedding area. They're not going to fight in like certain areas, from my understanding of what people say. So I don't know if like maybe when I do it, I'm just doing it in the wrong spot, and like I'm not set up in an area where a fight could be happening. They're like, why is there a fight happening over there? They're the two dumbest deer in the woods. I'm gonna avoid
Hmm.
them. They're not a problem for me anyways. So I don't know if that's the case or if it's just timing where I don't, doing it at the wrong time of day, or which I don't know if there is such a thing, but or if I just do, whenever I do it, I don't happen to catch deer being in the area that are interested in fighting at the moment. So
Have you ever seen any like a video of deer fighting in the woods? Like, has anybody ever posted a video sitting in a tree stand in the middle of the woods of deer fighting? I don't feel like I've seen that. I
I
feel like I've
saw
only seen deer fighting in like the edge of a field or the middle of a field.
yeah, I've seen a lot in the fields, some in the woods. I've seen a couple where they're like kind of in the woods.
one of you sent that video of the deer fighting next to the house.
Oh yeah, it was like the smaller one had the bigger
Oh
one pinned
yeah,
up against the house, and
I couldn't watch that because that bigger one he was gonna die in like two
yeah,
minutes time, and that
Yeah, he
little
was
one was
hurting.
like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he
he's
was.
like he's like the last one in the group. The dude just got his shit pushed in, and he's like the last one still kicking him.
Yeah,
He was taking a video the whole time.
poor guy.
Yeah, it's the reality of nature.
Yep.
but yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I need to do more research on when, where, how, whatever to rattle. But whenever I do rattle, I don't hold back because the one thing I have seen across the board pretty much is like, early pre-rut, whatever, you can kind of tickle the tines that like if you get too aggressive with it, people are like people will say, the deer are like, why are you being so aggressive right now? Where they will kind of do a little sparring pre-rut, but when you're in the rut, like they're going after it. They're not holding back. And so like I get after it. I've cut up my hand a little bit on my thumb and like on my hand because like just going after it and I hit like I miss and scrape it with my nail, but like I definitely bang them together. So I just don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if it's just bad timing or what. But I would love to have one get rattled in. I think that would be super exciting because they come in like videos I've seen of people doing it. Like they come in rip roaring, ready to go, and I
Yeah,
think that'd be awesome to have something like that happen.
Mm.
yeah, and I think people. I mean, I don't really know. I have one experience with it, and it was with Spike, who's. I mean, his antlers were is the size of my pointer fingers. So take this for what you will. But last year, I snort wheezed at a little Spike, and he was like 280, and he was at 90 yards in like 30 seconds. So he was ready. And a lot of people say that snort wheezing is super underrated way of like getting after deer and calling them in. Not a lot of people know how to do it, and I don't. I mean, I did it one time and it worked, but also like I've never really had the chance to really test it out. I guess because I mean I've never just tried it just to try it. Last year I did well, except for last year. But I saw this deer and I saw how he reacted to it. But after that, it didn't see any deer. Didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So as far as other tactics go, using scent and like doe estrus and stuff like that. We tried it once last year, Tanner and I. I tried it while we went out together, and again, I think it might have been bad timing or maybe poor execution or whatever.
I think it's too late.
Yeah, I also think that too. I think I tried it like way too late, like it was like way post rut, and so I feel like if I were to use it again, I would use it like right now or like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Um,
it was
sometime in
two,
that
3 weeks ago.
this week would be the last week I would even try it. I ran into a couple guys and they said that they tried it, um, and they didn't have anything come in on their scent that they laid down. But again, I don't know what they used or how they used it or whatever. But I think it would be effective in the right situation where maybe if you're kind of up on a hill and your scent can like the scent you put down can be kind of more broadcast out, something like that, just to kind of spread that scent a little bit better. You know, we tried putting it on a like a scent trail thing, like on a rope, and like drag the scent through the woods. Again, it didn't work for us, but I've heard stories of it working like that too. I don't know if I'll ever try that again, unless I just really feel like that's going to be the best way to do it. If my mind changes on that, but I don't know. It didn't seem to be super effective, and it's something that costs more money, and it's not a renewable resource like having your grunt tube or antlers where you can use them year in, year
And
out.
and it's just stinky, man. My God, bless.
It does stink. It does stink.
It's horrible. But did
That,
you did you look for a camera at all yesterday when we saw that one in the tree? That you all right? That what the hell you call that cloth thing
mm.
that you dip inside of it? I didn't even think to look for a camera. Somebody get this guy some.
He's dying.
Oh Lord!
I'm all right.
All right,
Good.
you good? You recovered? All right. Anyway, sorry, people.
No, to answer your question, no, I did not look for a camera, but we were like at that point, I think we were like 100 yards or less from private, and so I think it might have been those guys,
Yeah,
but I don't know for certain.
I mean,
But no, I did not look for a camera right there.
it didn't even cross my mind till right now. Till you were talking about it. But also, I think next year I want to try a mock scrape somewhere.
Yeah, we said it last year, and we were gonna set it up. I think this year, like we need to find like a good one, a good like system or whatever, and you can set them up to run it year round. Deer will use a mock scrape year round if you put it in like the right area. I feel like we
I
maybe
think we
where we're
just
both
I think
thinking,
I really do.
yeah. I think if we put one in that area with a camera, I think we'll get some pretty good intel, and I think they're going to just continue to hit it. So
Yeah, because like it was with the way that the two played out, the two big ones that we saw yesterday, it was like the perfect travel corridor for the like. If you looked, it was like bang this side and then this side. So like he was walking here, and then he's on this trail out of the trees.
yeah,
So it was very interesting to see, and also how we just followed that trail, kind of on purpose, but also accidentally from where we saw their beds down, and we were like, "Oh shit, we were just 30 yards from this."
yeah, right. So those are kind
Mm.
of our rut strategy. Brooks, do you know what a scrape is?
A scrape or a rub?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
A scrape is different from a rub.
Okay. Then what's a scrape compared to a rub?
A rub is just like where he's rubbing on a tree,
Right.
and then a scrape is like he's raking the ground, and it's usually that's got like twigs, like I don't know, it'd be like chest height with us, maybe like chin height. It's got twigs, and he's scraping the ground, and then he's rubbing his antlers and his forehead on those twigs, just leaving a scent. And he'll piss where he scrapes. He's raking the ground, just like this is my territory.
Yeah.
So like
It's a communication tactic.
Yeah, it's also like, yeah, it's not also like during like this time of year, it's like, hey, like I'm here, motherfucker, like let's go.
Uh-huh.
But also, like throughout the year, they'll make scrapes to just be like, hey, I'm here, I'm around, like things are cool, you know. So I think a lot has to do with the scent and the pheromones and whatever they give off have to do with it.
Yeah. They'll use it to like kind of indicate where a bedding area is, because they'll have them outside the bedding areas and just be like, "Hey, you're coming into a bedding area." Basically, "Hey, FYI, posted. Trespassing
Yeah,
is okay, but
yeah.
also understand that this is I've been here first." So,
Right.
But if you look, like a lot of times when you see rubs, especially at this time of year or a little bit earlier, like you'll see a pattern. So it's like if you see one, you'll start to see a second, you'll start to see a third, start to see a fourth. So they'll just keep rolling. And then the same thing with scrapes is it'll be like there'll be one here and then another one 30, 40 yards down, and another one, and another one, and another one. So that's kind of the pattern. Like yesterday, it was, hey, there's a rub. I'm like, oh my, oh look, there's a second one. Look, there's another one. And then you'd walk another 100, 150 yards, and like, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. Yeah, I think the proof was in the pudding for all the bucks that Justin has seen back in there and just kind of wandering around, that they're back there. And I think that there's one back there that's ruling the roost a little bit. You never
yeah.
know.
So during the rut, yeah, I think those are our strategies. Now post rut, now that we've kind of found those areas, I think it's kind of more almost getting back to like pre-rut. But you know, Tanner, you sent that article today. I didn't open it yet. I didn't read it, but you know, almost kind of going back to like pre-rut stuff where you're catching them kind of in some transition areas between food and bed again. I think that's probably going to be my strategy. I don't know, that spot that where we sat yesterday and where I've sat a few times now. Um, I mean, as long as I keep seeing deer and deer sign, I don't think I'm going to leave it. I don't think
I
there's
don't
any
either.
reason to. Even if I read an article or whatever that says I should look for a certain other type of thing, if I'm seeing deer sign, there's no reason for me in my mind to leave.
Well, that article was more so him saying that like the rut was extremely disappointing this year
Mm,
for him, and that like don't be afraid to abandon these deer, like especially a lot of people that they've been watching these bucks for years and like they're finally blooming and they're huge. It's like don't be afraid to disappoint yourself and get away from these deer, because A, they may be dead if you haven't seen them in a month, or B, like they're a county and a half over and they're not going to be back till next fall or next spring, and like you're just going to have to deal with it. So make the best of it and go shoot some does, like, because I mean, and I guess I say that in kind of a shitty way, but like doe management is really important, especially like an area around here where the deer population is just it's a problem how many deer there are around here, and like the amount of vehicle incidents that happen involving deer are much higher than they should be for a city as big as Nashville is, and being as populated as it is. We were just so Emily and I were up in Portland, that area, I guess, this last week or on Saturday, and we saw her brother shot a pretty nice deer up there on some of his ground. But we were just driving around, and we saw a freaking monster. I think he was an 8 or 9, but he was huge, extremely mature deer. But we saw a bunch of does up there as well, and it's like there was a pretty big difference in their body size up there than compared to here. It's like they're much bigger up there because A, they have a lot more nutrients to eat than they do around here, and B, it's like they're not as populated as they are around here, so they're not competing for food as much, and like there are more nutrients for them to eat, but down here it's like some of these deer, they look like shit to me.
yeah, scraggly.
So yeah, and mostly the bodies. I mean, like there are big bucks in here, and like we've seen people that we've met around here that they're hunting the same public ground we are, and they're killing big bucks in here too. But they're around. Just you got to
Yep,
find them.
yep. No, I think I don't know if we want to dive into it today. I don't think we will, but the the management plan, I think when you're talking about deer population being too big, it's almost asinine that, you know, a state like us, Tennessee, has a bag limit, daily bag limit of deer. Pretty much everywhere
Yeah,
else, it's 3 does a year if you have more than one doe. Like if it's a lot of places, it's, you get one doe and one buck, and that's it. Um, the fact that it's 3 does a day in three of the whatever it is, 6 or 7 units in Tennessee,
I think it's mostly this unit though, like Middle Tennessee.
like the big population. Yeah, so one, two, and three. I was looking at the regulations yesterday or whatever. Units one, two, and three. So it's like the western half up to like Middle Tennessee is 3 does a day. And it's like, my
Don't forget
gosh,
the.
no longer a CW.
It's not. I thought the unit was literally called CWD.
I think they got rid of it. But
Well,
anyways, yeah, you get 3 does a day. There is an earn a buck thing. So, you know, if you turn in, I was reading it yesterday because I was looking at dates for ducks and all that stuff. So I was just bored looking at all the regulations, and you get earn a buck. So if you submit X number of deer that test positive for CWD, you get an extra buck tag added on or whatever. And so there's some incentive there, but there's I don't know. Like I said, we won't dive into it, but the fact that you
no, I
have
don't want to.
such a deer population that you have 3 does a day and 2 buck tags in pretty much half of your state, and then the other half is like you still get your 2 bucks, and some of them it's like 4 does a year, 2 does a year, 3 does a year. That's still a lot of deer uh, compared to a lot of other states. Now, granted, you can compare it to another state, but you're not comparing apples to apples. Like you can't compare Tennessee to Kansas or Iowa. And people want to say, well, look at the way that they're doing their deer management and their season or their regulations and yada yada. And that's why they have such big deer. It's like, well, no, they have such big deer because they've had these regulations from the get-go. They 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 haven't changed very much. Like they haven't had the population problem that we have here. And so like you can't compare apples. It's not an apple to apples comparison where you can say, well, why don't we just do what this state's doing and we'll end up having trophy deer like them, which that's a whole nother issue. Like, why is it all about having trophy deer? It
Right.
shouldn't be.
Yeah,
You
which
you get
also is
trophy
not a
deer
great.
out of proper management, but
It's not a great argument either though, because like Kansas, you and I hunted deer in Kansas. Kansas has an archery season just like Tennessee does, where it starts in the middle, late September and goes all the way to the end of rifle season in December.
yeah, right,
I don't know. I'm no biologist, and I mean, I don't know shit about fuck. We say it all the time, but I feel like saying that like 3 does a day is just it's kind of lazy. You know what I mean? And it's like unless it's really that bad, where it's like go like shoot as many as you possibly can because like it's that bad. Which I feel like if people really took it serious, I don't think there'd be any deer left. To
right.
be honest with you,
Well, and going back to what you were like, I mean, you brought up meat eater. I was listening to they've had actual professionals talking about it, and they're not Tennessee, but other states in the country are having a very similar problem where nobody's harvesting does. They
yeah,
get like we've gone into this world of like land management and herd management, but they're not really managing the herd aside from let's find it out if we have any really big bucks on our property
social
and
media,
do whatever we can to make sure we can hunt that big buck. And then, all right, we
social
killed
media.
him. Let's do it again on the next big buck, and we'll wait 3 years to kill him. And it's like, where, like, what about the rest of your deer population? And now, then you get into having issues there too. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's just a whole lot of talking points when it comes to population management and herd management when you're talking about smaller, like if you have your own property and deer in the area, more or less trying to manage them. I mean, there's tons of talking points, but Yeah, I think
I
we're not
think
on the right track.
no, I think people like all these influencers or whatever the fuck you want to call them, which it's the old grip and grin. Like, here's a picture of me with this 380-inch bull elk, and here's a picture of me with this 190-inch whitetail deer year after year after year after year. I'm killing three a year. I'm killing three giant bucks a year, and like, yeah, I mean, it's cool to watch. It's fun to watch, and you want that to be you, but also it's like it's your responsibility as a hunter to contribute to herd management and population control, and it's I mean, I think it's gotten pretty out of hand.
Yeah.
And
Yep, exactly.
I saw something yesterday. This guy posted a picture of this deer in somebody's yard. He's like a real estate agent or something, like posting a house for sale, and it was like, "Hey, this house comes with giant bucks too." And people were like, "Take
I saw
this
that post.
down, like take this down. This deer's gonna get poached, first of all, and like second of all, you're doing the same thing that I'm not gonna name these YouTubers, but these guys posted this area and they completely ruined hunting up here because like they posted a video of them hunting this giant deer in this area of Tennessee, and now like public hunting up there is ridiculous because people are like, I want to be those guys. Like, I want to be that guy on YouTube that kills this 170-inch plus deer on public ground, and it's like they literally ruined it because they said where they were,
Tough.
and everybody wants to be that guy, and that's just I think that's a lot of like a big problem with social media and like people like wanting to be these giant influencers and like this is how you do it. And we were talking about this last week with that one fella that is the archery guy that you were like, I think it's like the way he talks, it's my way or it's his way or no way.
Yeah.
And it like for sure is that way because it's just how some people are. But you run into it. I mean, it's going to be that way with almost anything you do, and um, any what's the word I'm looking for here? Really anything that like is involving some kind of oh man, I'm having a big old brain fart here. This is rough.
You're
Competition,
about to have a damn
No,
aneurysm.
no, no.
ego.
Yeah, kind of, but like you're gonna deal with a lot of egos and really anything, whether it's like it's hunting or it's business, like it's this way or no way. And we see that a
Yeah.
lot. I really do think that social media has changed a lot of the way that like people live, period, but also like everybody changes the way that they do things because they saw this on Facebook, they saw this on Instagram, they saw this on here or there, or the other thing. So
Mm-hmm.
Right.
there's not a lot of people can think for themselves anymore. They just want to be like this guy. So that's and you could they I'm sure they could say the same thing about us talking on a fucking podcast about deer hunting, but we're also just a couple buddies shooting the shit most of the time, and we just want to let people know what we think about it, whether you like it or you
Yeah.
don't.
Either way,
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, good thing is we have gotten a doe each this year, so we're not dying to get out and make sure we get a deer again this year. But it would be nice. We've also got duck hunting
not
coming
me.
up. Yeah. Sorry, Brooks. I forget
Yeah,
about
guess what,
you
Brooks?
not
Suck
getting one,
it. Suck it.
but. But we got duck season coming up. We were talking last episode with Brooks. We brought it up briefly, but duck season is coming up. So I'd love to start talking a little bit more. I know this is an archery based podcast, but we've said it from the beginning. It's mostly hunting and outdoors, so it's not just archery. So it would be fun to mix it up. It might be one of the next episodes following this one that we start talking more duck and goose and things of that nature.
Goose,
So
man.
if a
I've
goose
not
comes
been.
in here, I don't know. I mean, I've seen them around, but we didn't have any
I've
goose
I-
action
I've
last year.
I've not been goose hunting in I don't know how long. Yeah, we were out one weekend and I heard geese honking away, and I said, I'm pretty sure it's goose season right now. It was like early season
Mm.
snow geese or
Yep.
Canadian,
Yeah.
and it sure as hell was,
Yeah.
which is odd, but whatever. It's just like early duck season, teal season.
Yep. Early
But we
on.
have
So.
seen sandhill cranes as well, where we duck
Hmm.
hunt. So
Yeah, so
the sky.
hopefully we get into it a little bit better this year, the duck hunting and maybe some goose or whatever. But hopefully we get into it a little bit more and have some more stories to share on there.
Yeah, and the good thing about duck hunting is you're out the first 3 hours of the morning, then you go home.
Yeah, get the rest of the day with the family, with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
wife and kids, the dogs.
The dogs.
Dogs.
We've all got
Brooks,
dogs.
we got to get you out here for all the fun activities, the deer hunting, the duck hunting, the goose.
Yeah, you're telling me, man.
Yeah,
Frick.
we are.
You keep saying how great Colorado is and you're gonna stay there, but I mean, hey, we got a lot of stuff to do out here.
I know.
You got a couple buddies you can do it with too, so
I
Yeah,
know.
and a couple buddies that might be getting some sort of watercraft,
hopefully we're looking into
something,
canoes,
or what was it? What was
kayaks,
it? The water tender. That's
water
what it was.
tenders, like a little mini boat type thing.
Water
Yeah,
tendy.
that's all we need. That's really all we need. Enough to fit 2 to 4 people and a dog.
Yeah, and some decoys. Well, we can drag the decoys in my other sled, and they'll float. But well, I think that'll wrap it up. Any closing thoughts, closing comments, questions, Brooks?
No questions, but I thought that was a pretty good talk just about just different tactics post rut or during rut, post rut, and that you guys were talking about that. And like you guys hunt whitetail, I haven't hunt whitetail yet, so it was good to listen and kind of just hear what you guys had to say about it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all I got. Until I hunt whitetail, I feel like I don't have much of an opinion.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll
there's
get you
always
into
the
it.
opportunity.
We'll get you
It's a
into it.
Get
long
out.
season, Brooks.
I know. I'll be coming down to Tennessee this fall. It's the
Words.
plan.
Sweet.
We'll hold you to
Looking
it.
forward to it. Get him up in a tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, hell yeah.
The last thing, we didn't bring it up with Tanner, but we still have a couple more bow releases, bow launches to do, or to that are to come.
Yeah,
So
freaking.
once those come out, Bowtech and Prime, once those guys finally come out, we're gonna
Yeah.
get Tanner's thoughts on bows, but
My
we'll probably dig into that next time.
Here is my thought, and this is the only time I'm going to speak about it because I'm not as crazy about it as these two. I don't give a flying fuck. If you're going to ask me to pay 2 grand for a brand new bow, it better shoot itself.
1200. Go with the 1200.
Get a
Okay.
Darton like me. I don't know if I'm getting Darton, but they're 1200. So
Now, listen, man. I mean, look, I've put so much time and effort into this thing that I'm almost at the point where, like, I'm just going to shoot it until it completely explodes, and then I'll get a new one.
Well, it is a Bear brand bow, so it's going to within,
Yeah, it will.
the next 6 months. So
mine
Yeah.
exploded in the first 6 months.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're right about that. But I
hey,
also am
hey,
not as like crazy into these brand new bows as these two are. Especially when Matthews just came out with the fucking same bow that they had last year. You can just tune it on the go. Which I
Hey,
mean is pretty cool, but
pretty
it's
tight.
literally it's the same model. Hoyt, guess what Hoyt did? Hoyt
Hmm.
last year, what was their bow? It was an RX-8. What is it this year? It's an RX. Oh.
At
Next
least
year
you
it's going to
can
be
get
the
the
it's going
lift
to
RX-8
or
cheaper
lift
on eBay
X.
this year.
Next year, it's going to be the R-X because X is for 10, and they're so uncreative that they're like, it works. Let's keep doing it. It's a marketing scheme. Sorry, Hoyt. I don't mean to hate on you. I don't have anything against
No,
you.
the
I
next
just,
thing Hoyt needs to come out with is tunability because you have to get a bow press
You have
no
to
matter
keep
what.
up. You have to keep up with the market. The market's
well, here's
going
your
to
bow
start leaving
press
them in the
market.
dust.
You guys talked about your own bow shops. I have a portable bow press. Okay.
I
Yeah,
want to
see,
get that one.
I told Tanner about it, or Brooks about it last episode.
Yeah.
We talked about having to fix cables.
Look. All you do is you put this on one of your limbs, and then you put this fucking thing in there like this. Okay, on both limbs, and then you screw her down. You tighten it, and it's just like a bow press. That's literally how I fix the cables on mine. I bought this thing on Amazon for I don't remember how much back in 4 years
I
ago,
think
3 years ago, whatever it was.
it's like
But
$50 on Amazon.
it's not expensive, and it worked. And you know what I did is I set it up on a chair and it worked.
Bang.
So, you know what? Screw you, Cabela's. You want me to pay $450 for a bow press?
Just
I did
Scrooge. He is
I
such a
did watch
Scrooge.
Scrooge. I did watch another video today about what you should get for an at-home bow shop, and the one Tanner just showed, the bow press, the guy talked about. He goes, I used this for 7 years until I got the last chance easy green or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that's literally it's. Lancaster has that on sale every year around this time for like $100 off.
Weird. It's like it's Black Friday.
Black
Oh yeah,
Friday.
it is. Forget about that one. Isn't it crazy how Black Friday? Hold on, last thing. Black Friday evolved from people standing in line for hours at a store for an Xbox to just like, here's a whole week of like 80% off. Just buy it.
Please
A
buy.
week. It's been like a month. Like November 1st hit, and it was like Black Friday sale starting now until December
Well,
1st. It's like,
well, I got
what the
on
fuck is the
Amazon.
point of calling it Black
Yeah,
Friday?
literally. Yeah, I got on Amazon this last weekend, and it was like Black Friday deals November 20th through the 29th. And I was like, all right, sick.
All
Yeah, it
right.
used to be Black Friday in person, Cyber Monday, and that was it. Now it's
Yeah,
like
That was it.
Black Friday week.
deals forever.
Yeah, literally. It's crazy. And it's crazy because like they could just be screwing you the whole time. It's like, yeah, it's 40% off. Meanwhile, it's actually MSRP. They're just screwing with you. You have no idea.
Yep.
All right, I'm sorry. I kind of came out with my hair on fire this week, but it's
Hasn't
been
been
a
on a
while.
pod in like a month, and he decides to come in rip
Screaming
roaring.
hot.
That's
Yeah, I
why
had to,
I just sat back and listened. I was like, you know what? Tanner hasn't talked, so he gets to do all the talking.
He's got to get it off his chest, man.
yeah, yeah. My dogs can only take so much. They're like, just shut the fuck up already, dude. Seriously.
Like,
Well,
Dad,
I
come
feel like
on!
that was a pretty good one there. So once these final bow launches happen, we'll get the final thoughts and feelings from the crew here, and I know it's not going to change much in Tanner's mind. Look at his face; he's
Yep.
pouting about it already.
Bowtech tomorrow.
He's pouting about the conversation. He doesn't want to have
Oh
it.
yeah, give me submission by Bowtech, bro.
Bowtech tomorrow. Then we gotta wait till December 10th for Prime.
I don't know if I can't stay around that long. I don't think it's going to be worth it anyways. That's my personal opinion. But like a month
PSE, yeah.
ago,
Shows you
yeah.
how good that product probably is.
Prime says it's their carbon, so we'll see.
Yeah, well, PSE's had a carbon for years. Hoyt has too.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're gonna have the conversation later. We'll talk
Yeah,
about it later.
that's
We don't
true.
need to
That's true.
bring it all up now. But we're all excited about all of the new launches, and we like to
Shout
talk
out,
bows.
shout out Prime Archery for getting on the carbon train.
Yeah, carbon overrated. Anyways, thank you to the listeners for listening all the way through, listening to us ramble and say some
Rant.
nonsense. But leave some likes and comments, subscribe, follow. Let us know what you guys think. It lets us know by liking what content you like. When you subscribe, obviously it means a whole lot to us, showing that you are supporting us even more. We appreciate when you guys do that. Yeah, I will catch you guys on the next one.
See you guys next time. Happy Thanksgiving.
Peace.